Welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, we're going to be transforming the closets that you see behind me. It's super easy, super cheap, and DIY friendly, so stay tuned and I'll show you how. The first thing we had to do was determine the layout the closet was going to be. We landed on having some shelves on the left that can be used for all of our folded items, and then a two-tiered section on the right that'll house all of the clothes that hang up. After taking some quick measurements, I start by building a simple shelving unit. Here I'm breaking down some 3/4 inch pre-finished birch plywood into some smaller sections to build a box. The construction went pretty quick. I built a rectangular box securing the top and bottom with glue and pocket screws, followed by adding a few shelves equally spaced out. The shelves were also glued in place, and I also tacked them with a 16 gauge nailer while the glue dried. With the cabinet box complete, I ripped down some poplar to construct the face frame. Personally, I prefer maple over poplar. However, with this being a paint grade piece and it's going to be hidden in our closet for our own personal use, I opted to use the poplar that I already had on hand. Whenever I'm going to be painting a piece, I like to lay down a super light bead of caulk on the shelf seams. This just finishes those off and takes care of any small gap in the wood that the paint is going to highlight. Now that I have everything caulked, I can move on to paint. Now I'm a Sherwin-Williams guy, but I do have a gallon of this bare white trim paint left over from the bathroom addition that I just finished. So I'm going to be using that on this project. Whenever I go to install something, I always try and clear out the space as much as I can. So for this one, that means taking out these closet doors to give us as much room as we can possibly get. After measuring and cutting out the trim, I slide the shelving unit into place before attaching the face frame. Now if I measured correctly, it should be a perfect fit to where that top shelf will set directly on top of our shelves. With the main piece installed, the last thing to do is to get the closet rods hung up. This top shelf was essentially already in place, I just needed to cut it to the shorter length and install the left bracket onto the new shelving unit. To determine the height, I hung up a couple shirts on both the top rack and the bottom to make sure they weren't touching and the bottom rack wasn't touching the floor. For the bottom rod, I installed the brackets both on the wall and the shelving unit before cutting the actual rod to length and placing it into the bracket. As always, links below in the description for everything that I use. That is going to do it for this week's video. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you enjoyed, and make sure you are subscribed. We have a ton of projects coming to the channel, both big and small. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it very much, and we'll see you next week.